Hey, what's up YouTube? Will's Garage here. Today I'm going to be changing the spark plugs on my F10 M5. The M5 has 8 spark plugs, but the 4 that are closer to the firewall are much more difficult to remove because there isn't much room to work with. So in this video I'm going to be focusing on those mainly. The first step is to remove the engine cover. All you have to do is pull it straight off. It's held in by 4 rubber grommets. Next, you'll have to remove the 2 air boxes on the left and right side. And you can do that by unplugging the MAF sensor and unscrewing the hose clamps. Pull aside any hoses that are clipped onto the air box. And there's also a torque screw alongside the fender that you'll need to remove. Once you remove both air boxes, you also need to loosen the coolant expansion tank. It's held in with 1 torque screw. And the purpose of this is to allow more room to remove the spark plugs. Also, loosen the power steering fluid reservoir. It's held in by 2 10mm bolts. There are 2 DME units on each side. You're going to want to pull them off of their rubber grommets and remove the engine brace, which you see here. It's held on with 4 torque screws, and the gray rubber grommets that you see here are where the DMEs are attached to. Alright, so now we're ready to remove the coils, and using this one as an example, if you look from the top, there's an indentation on one of the side of the coils that indicates the side where the hinge is. You'll want to pop up the opposite side of the hinge and automatically the connector will dislodge. To remove the coil, you can pry it out with a screwdriver, or alternatively you can do what I did and loop a zip tie to pull it out. I found this to be a lot easier. Here's another look at the coil mechanism. For the spark plug removal, you'll need a special thin wall socket. This is the one I used here. You'll also need a variety of wobble extensions and a U-joint. So here I have, I think, an 8-inch extension, a U-joint, 6-inch extension, 3-inch, all attached to a 3/8 ratchet. Alright, so earlier I mentioned that the 4 spark plugs that are closest to the firewall are the most difficult to remove, so I'm just going to skip the other 4 that's towards the front of the car because they're easy. Right now the one you're looking at is on the passenger side, second one closest to the firewall. In order to get to this one, you'll need to move the DME out of the way, and in order to do that, there are some clips to the cabling. You'd need to just pop them out of the clip slightly and use some force to lift it out of the way. And as you can see here, you can fit the extension right in between the cables. Here's the removal of the ignition coil closest to the firewall on the passenger side. It's a really tight fit, but it's totally possible to squeeze it out. Here's the extension setup that I showed you guys earlier. It fits quite perfectly into the spark plug hole. Regarding the DME cables, you don't need to unplug them. I only did it here because I thought it was necessary originally. Now let's look at the driver's side, second one closest to the firewall. In my opinion, I found the driver's side plugs to be much more difficult to remove. And here is the extension and socket setup that I used. The U-joint comes in really handy here. And finally, here is the plug on the driver's side closest to the firewall. Here you can see the ignition coil still in the car, and I used a zip tie to pull it out, made it a lot easier. So similar to the passenger side, you'll need to unclip the cabling of the DME from the bottom in order to move it to the side enough in order to fit the extension and socket into the hole. Here are the old spark plugs that came out of my car. The top ones are the passenger side, bottom ones here are the driver's side, compared to a new one. And just some useful tips for you guys. If I were to do it again, I would try to find a magnetic socket instead of a rubber one, just so that it wouldn't disconnect from the extension. As you can see here, I had to use tape. Also, when removing the engine brace, it's really easy to lose these 4 bolts. I ended up losing 2 of these, so just be careful with that. So that's it for the spark plug change. Hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys in the next one.